Hi, hello. Today I'm going to look at Zmors, which is an old synthesizer that's been on the App Store for 2 or 3 years now. You probably all heard of Zmors, but the Zmors modular, which is actually now a very well-regarded modular synth on the iOS App Store. But the original Zmors never really captured the imagination of the buying public. I bought it when it first came out, and that said, there are some presets in the preset folder that I built ages ago, but I didn't like it and I deleted it. But somebody asked me to have a look at it the other day, and so I reinstalled it and I played around with it, and I still didn't like it, so I wasn't going to make this video. But after playing around with it for some more time, I started to get a hang of what this synth was doing, and I'm quite warming to it now. So let's have a look. What have we got here? So Zmors, when you go in, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 synth channels. So each of these is a 2-oscillator synth. And I'm going to just mute those 3 for now and just work with the first of these synths. Now if I go into the oscillator section, you can see I've got oscillator A and B, and these are both currently set to a sine wave. So I'm going to mess around with them slightly just so I get some sounds. And let's go for a... Okay, that'll do. And we've also got an LFO here, so you can set your LFO to be various different shapes, and you can shape your LFO to any way you want it. You can also bit crush what's going on here in the wave, and if I turn the bit crusher up here, you'll notice that I start to get this jaggedy line, and that's crushing my wave. So this is all good. It's not everyone loves to draw waves. It's fun, and if we go to the additive section, you can get really crazy with these different additive sections. Alright, so that's my basic waveform. Now, what we've got now is 20 parameters. Is it 20? No, it's 25. 25 different sets of parameters, each of which can be set for each of these 4 separate synth modules. So I've got attack, delay, sustain, release, and phase. That's the amplitude ADSR envelope. So I'm going to slow my attack down a bit, and let's add a bit of release. Phase here enables me to delay the start of the note when you press a key, so that I can set all of my different synth modules out of phase with each other to thicken up the sound. Envelope B here can be assigned to pretty much anything. By default, it appears to be assigned to the filter. If I go to the mod matrix, if I go to the mod matrix here, envelope B is automatically assigned to the filter frequency, and that deep button there seems to be the thing that does the most of the changes. So what we've got here is effectively an envelope that's affecting the filter right now, and this deep tells me whether I'm affecting it up and down and by how much. Then I've got the LFO, which I can do amplitude modulation, so I can make the sound get louder and quieter. Frequency modulation, which isn't FM, as in FM synthesis, that's just making the notes go up and down. So I can also affect the filter and the wave with the LFO. One interesting thing that you will probably find confusing, I did, is if I go to the LFO section here, this LFO BPM speed, which I can set to 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, overrides anything I set over here. So if I set myself a speed here, let's set myself a speed on FM so you can hear what's happening. Smart. And then go to the BPM speed and set that to 4. This overrides that. So it's worth remembering. I got very confused. I was wondering whether there's a second LFO and what was happening, but that's what's happening there. I'm just going to set that back because I hate that sound. Okay, Then we've got oscillator sections, so each oscillator can be panned left and right. You can change the octave of both the oscillators together. The mix here between oscillator A and oscillator B. Interestingly, if you turn oscillator B off completely, you get this ring mod. So, and then you find what you're actually doing is you're listening to oscillator A ring modulated by oscillator B. I'm going to set the pitch of B down by an octave. And you can affect the tune of the thing. Down here we've got the effects section. There's only a reverb and a delay. And for people used to reverb or delay, should I say? Reverb and delay. Reverb and delay. For people used to modern synths, this does seem amazingly restrictive, and Zmors does tend to sound very dry and not very interesting when you first come into it, because we're used to having so many effects smothered all over our sounds. And then finally here I've got the type of the filter. We've got 1, 2, 3 types of low pass filter, 3 types of band pass I think, and then some high pass filters. And you can set your resonance and cut frequency and so on. Okay, and then I can go back to my LFO filter here. And I can set phase wave modulation or pulse width modulation on the waves as well. So then we have kind of nice 2 oscillator analog synth thing going on. I'm going to turn on the second of these synth modules. And the thing that really now makes Zmors interesting is that we have this sequencer section here. Now if I turn that on, so we've got a basic sequencer here. And sequences are linked by default to this link button. But if I unlink that, I can set these sequences, each synth to have its own separate sequence. And let's create a third one here. I'm going to create a noise wave. And unbeat that. I'll just set it up for a second. And put a high pass filter on it. And so you can build up all these different sequences of these different synths, and they can all interplay with each other. So you can actually build up quite complex stuff. And also, if I just stop that, the mod matrix here. Not only have you got all these free slots where you can modulate any of the parameters you've got with any of the modulation sources, but if I look here in the source, I can use the source. The sources can be stuff that's in my current synth module, but I can also use any of the sources from all the other synth modules as well. So if I want to, I can have the LFO on synth module 1 here, modulating sources in synth modules 2, 3, and 4. So there's a lot of intermodulation that can happen. And I was playing around with this. I came up with a strange cello sequence the other day, which I quite liked. Anyway, there we are, Zmors. So, interesting synth. It does stuff that no other synth does. You can make quite unique sounds with it. It's not necessarily to everyone's taste, but it's definitely worth having a look at.